Greetings. You're watching Impacting Lives with Pastor Caron Jones and the Rejoice in the Word Church Ministry.
Every day we're fighting to trust God. We're fighting for strength. We're fighting to move forward. In life, we're fighting for change. We're fighting to stay saved. But there's three aspects a believer must understand. Number one aspect is don't give in. Number two aspect, don't give up. Number three aspect, don't give out. Let me say it again. Don't give in, don't give up, and don't give out. Minister Mari, let's look at our scripture for today. Daniel chapter 3, verse 3 and 7. And the Bible reads as this.
Then the satraps, the prefects and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces.
All the officials, everybody in authority was around. What happened?
Gathered for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
Nebuchadnezzar said, I'm going to create a golden image. And I want everybody in authority to surrender to this image. I want them to give in to this authority. Go ahead.
And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
They stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar set up. Mm-hmm.
And the herald proclaimed aloud,
Mm-hmm.
You are commanded, O peoples, nation and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, tigron, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you ought to fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up.
You ought to fall down and worship. This is a command that I'm setting forth. Nebuchadnezzar was a ruling king in authority. And he created a golden image, and he wanted everybody in authority to kneel down and begin to worship this image. Go ahead.
And whoever does not fall down and worship,
And whoever does not worship this image that I've created, what happened?
shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace.
There's going to be occurrence for not obeying. And the occurrence for not obeying this image is that I'm going to cast you in burning fire.
Therefore, as soon as all the people heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, all the peoples, nation, and languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
Everybody obeyed on this order that was given. This man was walking in authority. And everybody obeyed because the king set the order out. Move on to the next scripture, which is Daniel 3, 12 and 18, Minister Mari. But these three men, go ahead.
There are certain Jews
There were certain Jews, these three men, they were considered Jews.
whom you have appointed over all the affairs of the province of Babylon.
Nebuchadnezzar had them in authority. There was three men that was in authority under his subjection and his rule. And even though they was under his subjection and his rule, what happened?
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Their name was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, three men. What about these men?
These men, O king, pay no attention to you.
They paid no attention to what Nebuchadnezzar wanted them to do. They said, you know what? We're not going to do this order that you send out. We the three going to stand up for something, or we're going to fall for anything. But we're not going to give in to what you commanded us, Nebuchadnezzar. Go ahead.
They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up.
We're not going to serve this God, and we're not going to worship this image that you set up. I understand that you put us in authority, and I understand that you have us over the golden image, and I understand the things that you want us to do, but I want you to know, Nebuchadnezzar, we're going to stand for something, or we're going to take the authority against what you told us to do. Wow, these men were strong men. Go ahead.
Then Nebuchadnezzar, in furious rage, commanded,
He got upset. What's going on? Who dare you three Jews to come against my order, what I commanded for you to do?
He commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego,
Uh-huh.
that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden
Wait a
image.
minute, you don't want to, wait a minute, I'm in authority. I made a golden image. You mean to tell me you're coming against my authority and you don't want to serve what I command you to do? I'm furious, I'm upset. Who dare you go against the king? Go ahead.
Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship,
what's going to happen to you?
You shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace.
If you don't react to what I command you to do, there's consequences behind the order. And the order is, I'm going to put you in a fiery furnace. Go ahead.
And who is the God who would deliver you out of my hand?
Wait a minute, underline that. And who is the God that's going to deliver you out of my hands? Because right now, I'm the King Nebuchadnezzar. I rule in authority, and I gave it a command. And I want to ask the question, Meshach, Abednego, who going to get you out of this? Has there been times in your life that you've been in a fire that you ask yourself a question, who's going to get you out of this? Go ahead.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said,
their response was, now look at not their emotions and their feelings, look at their behavior. Go ahead.
Oh, Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, Nebuchadnezzar stood up to the king and said, wait a minute. Oh, Nebuchadnezzar, what?
We have no need to answer you in this matter.
We don't have to answer you in this matter. We understand that you put us in authority to rule over your area that you have put us in, but we don't have to bow down to this image because we choose not to. When is the last time you stood up to Satan and you said you choose not to? Go ahead.
If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us.
Wait a minute. Our God who we serve, we don't serve this golden image. We don't bow down to this. So we know we from Jews and you put a command in order, but we got another God that you may not know about. We got another God that handles all problems and deal with all difficulty. And this God that he's not an image God. And we refuse to bow down to him. Go ahead.
He is able to deliver us from the burning
Wait a minute. Number one, he's able. Number two, he's what?
A deliverer.
He's a deliverer.
And he would deliver us out of your hands.
Number one, they didn't ask him to. They declared who he was. Number one, you's a what?
He's able.
He's able. Number two,
he's a deliverer.
Number two, he's a deliverer. Number three,
he would deliver us from the fiery furnace.
He will deliver us. I don't even have to ask him. I already know that I serve have the ability to do exceedingly above that I asked or think. I don't have to give in. And I don't have to give out. Because I know that the fact is that this God that I serve has the ability to do the impossible. The question is, don't give in, don't give up. Three men took authority. Nebuchadnezzar, you can put all your requests in. When is the last time you told Satan, put all your requests in? Because what he does, he commands us to do things that's not of God. He commands us to worship other gods, other things, and not worshiping the God that we serve. Three Jews stood up and said, wait a minute, I'm not giving in and I'm not giving up. When is the last time you told Satan you're not giving in and you're not giving up? Or you constantly giving in and constantly giving up? See, because there's a point in our lives that you got to make a stand for something. And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Go ahead.
But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image that you have set up.
We will not serve your God, and we will not worship the image that you set up. See, My job could be an image. My car could be an image. Materialistic things could be an image. How many things we given into and how many things we stood up for? Because we refuse to give in because we're making a stand. In other words, these three men, faith was being tested. They found their strength in God, and they found their self-strength in one another. If you can't find strength in God and you can't find strength in the people you're around, you don't need to be around that person. They're going to either give you strength or take your strength. These three was tested on their faith of a command that Satan demanded from them to do. They stood their ground, but they had a support system. You cannot stand without a support system. You got to ask yourself a question. Who is your support system around you that help you, that when Satan come to buffet you, are you going to make a stand, or are you going to give in, or are you going to give up? They found their strength in God, and they found their strength in themselves. In other words, what they began to do was, and I think this is where the saints get lost, and this is for mature believers. See, when you're standing, there's two ways of standing. When you're going to stand for something, there's two ways of standing. In other words, these men were tested on their inner principle, not on their outer pressure. Let me say it again. When you're standing for something, you're not standing on the outer pressure. Because if you look at the outer pressure, you're going to cave. But when you stand on the inner principle, is when you can stand and stand some more. And that's when you don't quit, when you have inner principle. These men had inner principle, even though they had outside pressure. If outside pressure can break me, then you'll never get nowhere. Here you got these three men going through the furnace fire, saying that if you break this law now, and if you don't obey us, we're going to have to fix it. Now, your penalty is not listening to Nebuchadnezzar is we're sending you to the furnace fire. We're sending you to the outer pressure. How are you going to survive in the outer pressure with inner principle? We lose people by the wayside because the outer pressure is more stronger than the inner principle. When we come to church on Tuesday and Sunday, we're coming for inner principle. But when we're out there in the world, we'll deal with outer pressure. And you can tell who survived because we can tell who is weak or strong because how they handle the outer pressure. You can tell who's being made in the midst of their storm because they have inner principle. Is it a possibility that we can come to church every Tuesday and every Sunday and have no inner principle? Because we are overshadowed with outer pressure? The question is, why are we coming on Sunday and Tuesday and we have not developed any type of principle whatsoever? All we ever deal with is outside pressure. And when the pressure gets heavy, I get through backsliding. And when the pressure gets heavy, I keep on quitting. And when the pressure gets heavy, I keep on throwing the towel in. And when the pressure gets heavy, I can't do right, talk right, or act right because I have nothing on the inside. All I did is what's working on the outside, which is the outer pressure. and Abednego, we're getting ready to send you in the fire. We're getting ready to put around you the outer pressure. But we really want to recognize that you talked about this God that you serve. You talked about that you would not stand in the image of Nebuchadnezzar's image. You talked about that you won't bow down to this God. You talked about that you would not serve this God. But I want to really see Nebuchadnezzar. I want to really see Meshach and Abednego. I want to really know what you're really made of. I want to know if there's some inner principle in you that's working outside of you. Because see, what's in you is going to work around you. Their faith was not built on the performance of God. Their faith was built on the sovereign will of God. They were seeking the face of God, not the hand of God. So we understand the fact that we cannot give in. And then you cannot give up. Daniel 3:23 says this.
And these three men.
And these three men did what?
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
And what they do?
Fell bound into the burning fiery furnace.
They did what?
Fell
Wait
bound.
a minute. We're going. Because we know him. So take us in, Nebuchadnezzar. We're not bound to your kingdom. They made us stood. They went to the furnace fires. And what they did?
Then King Nebuchadnezzar
did what to them?
Was astonished and rose up in haste.
Uh-huh.
He declared to his counselors, did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?
Wait a minute. Did we not put 3 in there? What happened?
They answered and said to the king, true, O king.
Uh-huh.
He answered and said, but I see 4 men unbound.
Wait a minute. 3 went in. And 4 is there. See, what you're going to understand, when you make your mind up not to serve no other God and to stand on God, you're not in the fire by yourself. The third party was Christ that was with them. God is going to let people see you in the fire, but see you covered in the fire. That's why you got to say, not thy will, but let your will be done. When my money is acting funny, I'm still bringing my tithes. Not my will, but let your will be done. I'm not in this by myself. I know it's not enough, but I'm going to stay in the fire because when I stay in there, I'm protected. When I stay in there, I'm shielded. I don't only serve him, I worship his principle. What's on the inside must work on the outside. So no matter what the devil comes with, I am standing in the furnace fires and I'm not alone. 3 went in, but 4 went out.